So that's why I really was drawn to the title of the podcast. There is another way, because almost like people will tell you that no, you just got to do this, you just have to be a doctor and that's it, or if you want to do music, you just have to do music and that's it. Well, no, you can do both. And I think the world would benefit more from people being a bit more open-minded and thinking about different ways to go about things. You know what I'm saying?
Hi, and welcome to the There's Another Way podcast with me, Adam Halverson.
And me, Pete Dolby. And you've come to the place where each episode we'll be shining a light on authentic people who have chosen an alternative path to their new normal to find another way.
Hello, welcome to today's episode. We're absolutely thrilled to have a true multi-talented trailblazer with us, Chima Anya. This guy is redefining what it means to chase your passions. By day, Chima is a dedicated and compassionate GP, and by night, he transforms into one of the UK's most exciting hip-hop artists. Chima is known for his unique blend of lyricism and musicality, making serious waves in the British rap scene. He's worked with some industry heavyweights, and his 2021 album, Modern Fairytale, created with the legendary SoulChef, has already racked up over 1 million streams on Spotify alone. In this episode, we're diving into Chima's incredible journey, from his early days growing up in Romania, Scotland and England, to embracing his Nigerian and Romanian roots. We'll hear about the online forums that kept him in check, his grind through medical school, and how he was even touted as the UK's answer to Will Smith before that Oscars incident. We'll explore how Chima manages to balance these two seemingly opposite careers while also being a devoted family man. This is a story of talent, resilience, and breaking boundaries. Britain truly has got some serious talent, and Chima Anya is leading the charge. We hope you're as inspired as the conversation as we were. Stick around, because there's another way. All right, so here we are. I'm delighted to be able to welcome Chima Anya to the There's Another Way podcast today, who is a hip hop artist, and I've been listening to some of his tracks this week, and there's some absolute bangers in there. So Chima, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much. And it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here.
Well, likewise, it's an honor and pleasure to have you on. Just so grateful that you're able to come on and chat through your story. So yeah, whereabouts are you dialing in from today, Chima?
I'm just at home, London ways, having a nice Sunday evening. The partner's taking my boy to his grandparents. I'm just, getting some things done,
Nice. Enjoying the peace and quiet and the tranquility when the little ones aren't around.
Yeah, but I miss him, I really do. The sun's come out a little bit as well, and I'm hoping to go down to the breaking championship after this little conversation, you know what I mean?
Oh, nice. What's that? What's the breaking champion, as in breakdancing?
Yeah, breakdancing. Yeah. A friend of mine, Blade, he got me some tickets to go check it out. I think it's a championship, UK championship. I want to go see it after, the big, shall I say, drama with that Australian
Olympics.
Yeah. Like, I wanted to go and see some actual breakdancing, because that whole thing kind of upset me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie,
I mean, some of the breakdancing was off the charts. I don't know if you saw. I think there's a Japanese lady that won that. She was sensational, and the guy that won it as well. I mean, some of the moves they were pulling off was out of this world.
You're right, and it's wrong of me to focus on the farce that was, I can't even say her name. Do you know what I mean? But no, so, yeah, it was amazing, and what should have been amazing, like an amazing look for breakdancing and hip hop culture in general, just ended up again, being a worldwide, butt of the joke constantly. But it is what it is, what I mean? So at least it's got me out. I've never been to a breakdancing event before, and I'm going tonight. So there's one positive, do you know what I mean?
Amazing. Well, you have to report back. I'd like to know what that's like. I mean, breakdancing, I remember in the 80s, the breakdancing vibe that was going on then. And you're right. I think it's a real shame because it was its debut, wasn't it, at the Olympics? And some people questioning whether it should be there or not. But it was fascinating to have it there. But unfortunately, everyone's going to remember it for that bizarre performance. And I don't know how that she even managed to get through to that because it was a joke, really. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she was trying to say that she was trying to go for like the originality, for the artistic expression, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. It wasn't a good look.
Sounds like she was going for clicks and a viral video more than anything, unfortunately.
What? Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's not the vibe I get from her. I think she's just completely unaware, which is strange for because she's an academic.
Oh, really? Did
Yeah,
not know that.
she's an academic, but she's just unaware of the wider connotations of what it means when she does something like this and like makes it a joke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But not everyone feels like this. Like my good friend Blade, doesn't feel like this. He felt like, look, hip hop's always been about inclusivity, and you know anyone can get involved, and you know at least people are talking about breakdancing now. Do you know what I mean? He's looking at it from that point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like any exposure is good exposure in a way.
Yeah, but breakdancing, my retort to that is breakdancing has been like the cornerstone of modern dance for like 40 years. It doesn't need the exposure. It doesn't need to be made the butt of a joke. But I get it. People will have different opinions about it, and it's just my opinion. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go and watch some actual breakdancing or breaking, as some people like to call it. You know, I'm not too anal with the terms, the terminology. You know.
Yeah. All right, brilliant. Well, yeah, well, I'd love to hear what that's like. I hope it's a good evening. And yeah, well, just to set the scene a little bit, so we interviewed our mutual friend Hal Stewart a few weeks back. Had a lovely chat with him, and he's a man of many talents. And he kindly put us in touch with you. Who it turns out you guys have known each other for a long time, and said you need to speak to Chima. And here we are, a few weeks on. So really grateful that you've been able to come on and have a chat. And yeah, I mean, typically what we do is have a little look back into and you know, growing up and what that was like for you, and obviously in time we'll get on to the music that you've been kicking out on Spotify and where else. I mean, I've had some of it on this week. Honestly, there's some really awesome tracks on there. So I'd love to hear about how you got into hip hop, and but yeah, in terms of growing up and where life started for you, how did that look?
So basically, I was born in Romania. My mom's Romanian,
Oh,
my dad's Nigerian. I moved to Scotland in '86. I was born in '84, and lived in Scotland until '95. And then I moved to Oxford in '95. Did high school in Oxford. That's when I fell in love with hip hop music. 2002, I went to uni and studied medicine. 2007, I graduated and moved to London. And since then, I've been, doing medicine and trying to push this music thing,
so that's really interesting. So Romania, I went a few years ago. Went to Bucharest with work, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know if you're anywhere near Bucharest, but that's my experience with Romania. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know if you've been back since or not. Do you get to go
Yeah,
back? Yeah.
yeah. Actually, I used to go back quite a lot. And then what happened was one of my good friends died. This is a
Oh.
long time, and like 15 years ago. It was like a childhood friend, and I don't go back as much now. I'm from a little town called Bacau, which is quite far away from Bucharest. It's like 4 hours on the train. But yeah, obviously I've been to Bucharest. I went to Bucharest probably last time I want to say 2017, maybe, or maybe later than that, 2019. But yeah, Romania is incredible, man. I'm a big fan of Romania, obviously. And yeah, so I'm part Romanian. I used to speak it when I was younger, but I don't really speak it anymore.
I know a few phrases because I've got I work with a lovely lady who's originally from Romania, so I've learned a few things. But yeah, and yeah, people are so proud of their country. I mean, doing a little tour around Bucharest with someone that lives there, they're just so passionate about it, and it was lovely. Yeah, and then so Scotland, so Romania, Scotland, and Oxford. That's quite a contrasting.
Yeah. Whereabouts in Scotland did things begin?
Glasgow.
And how was that? How did you find we've had quite a few Scottish sort of influences on the podcast, and actually all the kind of memories or vibe of it has all been really positive.
Man, I love Scotland, you know. To this day, Scottish people I think are the nicest people I've ever met. In terms of what I remember about Scotland, I had nothing but positive things to say. I distinctly remember moving from Scotland and having, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it, but you know, a hatred for England within me.
Yeah.
Even at the age of however old I was, how old was I? 95, so 11. You know, used to have a Scottish accent, and I worked so hard to try and keep it, but it didn't really work out. So no, yeah, I love, yeah, I got nothing but good memories of Scotland. Obviously, not that many because it was before I really came into consciousness. You know what I mean? But you know, I remember my boy Craig Finlayson. Shout out Craig Finlayson, Matty Drummond, my friends. You know, I remember the school disco that we used to have every Friday. You know, this is primary school. I remember some of my teachers, and it was a vibe. I lived in a place called Castle Milk. I visited there because what happened was because my brother was born, my younger brother was born whilst we were living in Scotland, and he was a professional footballer, so he became eligible to play for Scotland. So he played for Scotland for a few years, and so when he used to play in Scotland, I used to go back and visit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I used to go back and visit like old places. So I went to like Castle Milk, but it's all changed. It was like I think it was university accommodation we were staying in because my dad was working at the University of Strathclyde. But like when I went back, it's like completely changed. It was just unrecognizable, which was a little bit sad, but that's just the way life is, and it's all good. But every time I've been to Scotland, it's just mad love, you know.
Yeah, it's beautiful as well, isn't it? I've been to the West Coast and the Isle of Arran around there a fair bit, and it's absolutely stunning. It's breathtaking up there.
Yeah, amazing. I've got nothing but love for Scotland.
Yeah, and then you moved down to Oxford, and what got you into medicine?
Oh, just my dad. You know, I'm Nigerian, so you know when you come from a Nigerian, this might be stereotypical, but they tend to push their children towards stable careers. You know, like medicine, law, you know, or an accountant. Those are the three options. And I was good at science, so medicine was the best fit for me. You know.
Right, okay. And is it something that you enjoy? Do you enjoy getting into medicine? Is it something that you're passionate about, or?
Yeah, it is. It is
Yeah.
definitely. You know, I've been doing it now. I've been a doctor. I graduated in 2007, so that's what 17 years, and I've been studying it since 2002. So
Wow.
that's 20 that's 22 years. It's definitely something I'm passionate about. And yeah, I do enjoy it. It is very difficult. The particular, I mean, all walks of medicine is very difficult, but I'm currently a GP, and that's very difficult at the moment. But yeah, I do enjoy it.
Wow, I
Uh,
had no idea before the conversation. So, I mean, obviously, you know, we all experience this ourselves, but you know, obviously, there's a lot of coverage on the stress that the system is under. And is that what you kind of mean by the challenging side of it, or is it?
of course, yeah, 100%. It's not like a secret, you know. Keir Starmer came out. I saw some interview he just gave where he was just like, everyone knows, and anyone that's had to deal with the NHS in the last couple of years knows how broken it is at the moment, and what a monumental task they have to fix it. And you know, there's no hiding from that. Um, you know, we turn up and we do our best, but we are honest as well. You know, and we're trying to do better as well. So, and hopefully with this. I don't want to get too into politics, you know what I mean? Because obviously some people are going to have issues, but at least I'm hoping the change will move things in a positive direction.
Well, yeah, I hope so as well. I mean, I've been touch wood fortunate enough not to have to rely on the health service too heavily, as unfortunately you have had to lean on it fairly heavily this year. Um, but yeah, I mean, in my experience, the people that work there are awesome, and they're doing a sterling job. But when you walk into A&E and it's saying, 7-hour wait time, I mean, there's something I think wrong there. I mean, I know it's difficult to compare it because some countries don't have medical availability like that, but still, I think from what we used to, if you go back 10, 15 years,
there's definitely something very wrong. And even me, I've seen the change, the deterioration over the years since when because I've been a GP now for 12 years. So when I first started in 2012, to now, I've seen the deterioration, and it's not all COVID. Obviously, COVID is a massive part of what happened, but it's not all that. But like I said, I'm not an expert. I work in the field. I've worked in it for a long time. I have my opinion on what's going on. You know what I mean, rightly or wrongly. But we can't hide from the fact that there is something very wrong at the moment. It's like it's a scary time to be sick, I would say. Like you said, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, I mean, I've had a pretty acute experience of the NHS. I just wanted to say, actually, thanks for your, for taking that decision and for being of service, because I think that also doesn't get covered enough in terms of how demanding a job it is. And I think there needs to be a lot more respect for GPs and people who are doing their best. But I think so I mean, you may know this condition, Chima. So I got cardiac sarcoidosis at the beginning of the year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's, obviously, like my experience of it was that the acute side was amazing. Like I went into A&E. Obviously, I had complete stage 3 heart block, wow. And they obviously got me over to the cardiac unit. We're just outside of High Wycombe. And honestly, it was incredible. Like they did every scan, every test, every thing you could hope for. And the acute care was insane. Like the actual having the facilities and the kind of commitment from the staff to do that. To try and get a diagnosis, figure out what was wrong. I think what I've noticed is that when it shifted over to sort of more chronic care, and kind of the more ongoing stuff, as much as, they've gone through the motions really well in terms of medication and, sorry, this is a massive segue, but yeah, that was my observation is sort of when it moved out of the acute phase and into that chronic phase, that's where I've kind of started to notice the stress on the system, as it were.
I think you're 100% accurate with that observation. And I'm happy to hear the acute thing went well, but yeah, you're right. The chronic, the ongoing reviews, the long waits for appointments, the one arm not talking to each other. You're 100% right. That is a big problem, and I'm sorry that you're having to witness it firsthand. But like I said, like hopefully with this new, shall we say, regime coming in, things will change and things will get better. Because they were better. Even just in the earlier part of my career as a GP, I was seeing people with chronic illnesses looked after far better than they are now.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Chima, so I mean, obviously, if we do need to go and see our local GP, we see them for 10 minutes, and that's kind of like the extent of our exposure to that world. But what's a typical day in the life like for you? I mean, I'm assuming very long hours and very stressful at times, but I'm assuming there's reward for it as well, getting to treat and help people.
Oh, 100%. That's the most rewarding thing when you feel like you can help someone. And that's partly why it's more challenging at the moment, because, a lot of the times, for example, with the people with specialist conditions, we need the specialist input, and if we can't access the specialist input in a timely manner, that is, call it moral injury, for the doctor, because you want to help and you're like the only face that they keep seeing. They keep pitching up to their GP. When will I see my specialist, my cardiologist, my rheumatologist, my orthopedic surgeon, etc. And we're just like, we're really sorry, there's nothing we can do. We can write letters. The hospital tells us not to write letters. It's not going to change anything. It makes things worse because they've got to spend time reading our letter and then saying this is not going to change anything. But yeah, no, when you can help, it is massively rewarding, and it is long hours. It is, you have many hats that you have to wear as a GP. You're a counselor, you're a friend, you're a physiotherapist, you're a psychologist, but it's cool, it's like when you have a overall general interest in life, then all of those things you like to learn about and get involved in. So I've taken more control over my personal circumstances, because I find that when you do that, you can be more effective, instead of just burning out, because if you just like stuck in the treadmill and just dealing with unsolvable problems constantly, it can just grind you down and really make you quite cynical, and affect the way you interact with people, affect your empathy as well. So I'm, I've taken control over my working pattern, so it's not as bad, and it gives me the flexibility to do stuff like, oh, okay, also I put out music as well.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is how you fit it all in, because presumably being a GP, you work such long hours, and then sustaining a music career on the side, which I guess must be your kind of downtime outside of the family and the day-to-day GP stuff. I guess having that must be a real release.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to have the two. So, when the GP stuff is a bit too much, I can just go into the music stuff, and some of my older songs as well have a lot more medical elements to them, shall I say. And then equally, when the music stuff gets a bit depressing, because music is having its own challenges right now as an industry. You know what I mean? I can go and actually work at a job and earn some money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I really was drawn to the title of the podcast. There is another way, because almost like people will tell you that, no, you just got to do this, you just have to be a doctor and that's it. Or if you want to do music, you just have to do music and that's it. Or like, well, no, you can do both. And I think the world would benefit more from people being a bit more open-minded and thinking about different ways to go about things. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. We really appreciate you saying that, because I think that really encapsulates the spirit of really what we're trying to say. I think sometimes it's easy for the name of this podcast to come across as though, we're trying to pan any sort of conventional route, or any kind of, let's say, inverted commas, sort of what you should do. But I think at the same time, I was just talking with this with my wife this morning, is, you look at the university route, for example, it's essential if you need it, right? And if you need that, let's say you want to be a GP, you've got to go through the university and you've got to go through the education system. And if that lights you up and it helps you get in that direction, then I'm all for it. But at the same time, if you want to be in hip hop, if you want to do something completely different that doesn't need that academic route, then there's another way. But the key is that there is a choice for anybody to do it, whatever they want to do and however they want to do it. And I think it's a great example with your situation, where you've got a combination of, let's say, well, I guess what it sounds like is two passions that you're balancing really well.
Yeah, I mean, really well. It's hard to big yourself up, so sometimes I feel like, one is suffering at the detriment of the other. But I think that's just normal. Do you know what I mean? Like, some might say, oh, you could have been a super doctor if you didn't do the rap thing. Or someone else might say, oh, you could have been Jay-Z if you didn't do the doctor thing. Do you know what I mean? But no, I'm happy. I am genuinely happy. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. And I completely agree with your ethos, which is why when Hal told me the title, I was like, yeah, that's all I needed to hear. I was like, that's what I need to hear. I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to talk.
Well, that's amazing to hear, and thanks for saying it. Like Ad said, and we've always said, if one person gets something out of someone's story, then it's worth doing, because you don't get to hear these stories every day. And we've been fortunate enough to have some incredible conversations with some inspiring people, really inspiring people, and from lots of different backgrounds, and a massive array of different stories. So that's what it's all about, and that's why we keep going, and we just enjoy it, and it's just for that very reason, so people can hear there's a different path out there, really.
Big up.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you. And the music side of things. So when did you first, has music been a part of your life, since you were little, or when did you first kind of get into music, would you say?
Yeah, I think I've just been obsessed with it my whole life. I think I remember no, that was in Oxford. I remember listening to like Salt and Pepper in the 90s, Salt and Pepper. So that's when I was a young lad. And I was just mesmerized by these people were talking so fast and it sounds so cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to do that.
And people forget,
you know what I mean? Like,
forget how influential Salt and Pepper were actually. Like they were a big deal.
oh no, 100%, bro. Like, me, a little kid in England, for that music to, sometimes we deride the commercial stuff or whatever. But some people, that's their gateway into, because obviously then I listened to Salt and Pepper, and then I got into rap music, and then I learned more about the internet was just burgeoning at that point. So I would be on internet forums and I would learn about the golden era of hip hop. You know what I mean? The era of hip hop that's considered to be the best era of hip hop, like critically, shall we say. So I then went back and listened to all of those albums. Like Nas Illmatic is like my favorite album of all time. I went back and I listened to Public Enemy and KRS-One, Return of the Boom Bap, another classic album. But obviously they all came out way before I was even listening to hip hop. So yeah, I just loved it. And as a video by Mos Def, now known as Yasin Bey, as I saw recently, but it's an old video, and I'd seen it before as well. He was like, look, anyone that really loves any type of art will at some point try to make that kind of art. Do you know what I mean? It's just, that's how it works with art. So I loved like the art of hip hop, and I had some turntables. My mom bought me some turntables, and then just the rapping. I started doing the rapping.
And just sorry, I keep interrupting, but just
no problem. I talk too much. No problem.
No, that's the whole point. But no, it was funny because we were talking about Illmatic last night. I was at Pete's house for dinner, but when we were talking about East Coast versus West Coast, but you mentioned Mos Def. I mean, one of my biggest tunes. So when I had a lot of friends at university who were big into hip hop, particularly UK hip hop, but all the other, like all the classics you mentioned. But I have to just say, like, Definition by Black Star. I mean, that's got to be on your list, right?
Of course, man. Amazing, absolutely amazing song, and actually a massive influence from my style. You know what I mean? It's like poetic, but still very musical. So
absolutely,
100%.
I can hear that from listening to your stuff. Actually, the kind of crossover and the overlap.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. Yeah. So that's just how I got into it. I just gravitated towards it, and it's so funny because I see it in my boy as well. He's only 2.5. But ever since, like, he could even just make any noise or move, like, music is just so much part of him. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's the case with all toddlers. I only have one, but he really, really, really loves music. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just in our genes. My dad loves music. My brother loves music. We just love music, So, and then it was just a natural progression for me to start doing it.
We were having a chat with Mark in a previous podcast who came out this last Monday, and actually I think he made some really good points, which is, like, it really is like a universal love for so many people, because not everybody likes sport, not everybody likes, the kind of things, inverted commas, you should like. But if you think about it, like, does anyone actually ever say, no, I don't like music? Like, does anyone actually ever?
Well, I've heard people say I'm not really big into music. I just don't understand it, because music's the soundtrack of your life. Even the stuff you listen to when you're younger versus you listen to now. I mean, it's just it changes depending on your mood. It's just I can't go for a day without listening to music. It drives me mad.
Absolutely.
I think it's
Yeah,
important.
I agree. Yeah.
But you sound a toddler there, Chima, as well, because they do say, don't they, that kids can pick things up in the womb. So if they're subject, I know it sounds like it's a big part of your family anyway, but if they're hearing music in the womb, they can get into it in an early, even pre-birth, can't they? And if they're surrounded by it, then it's just, I guess by osmosis, they just kind of pick it up, don't they?
Yeah, someone else said that, but I feel like um when I look at my music, so for example, when you have a toddler, you can't really be making songs around them because they want all your attention and you can't get anything done. Um, I'm not sure that he's been surrounded by that much music. One of the reasons me and my partner work so well is that she likes music, but she's not completely crazy about music. So I find that helpful to kind of like balance myself when sometimes I get a bit too crazy about the music, you know? So she's not exposing him to music. I live in a flat, like we can't get loud. It's not like there's parties all the time. It's not like there's MCs coming around and we're ciphering every night. Do you know what I mean? I think it's genetic. And then even when he was in the womb, I don't know, like Chantel she doesn't go out partying, you know what I mean? She doesn't really do that much. We do have music on in the house, but like I said, like you said, I don't think that's that abnormal. I
Yeah.
think most people have music kind of generally on when they're like doing things. You think of TV shows, every TV show has a theme song, so like music is sort of always in and around in the place. I just think he really seems to love it. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
So
Well, I'm sure he'll continue to do so. So you said you went back and listened to all the classic albums and almost went through a studying period within music. So at which point did you then decide to start writing your own stuff or messing around? You had some decks, you said as well. So
yeah. I wrote my first rap when I was 13 years old. I still remember it was like, nah, this ain't no. Oh no, I don't remember what it. But I remember I wrote it to 112, 112 and Mace. It was a song called Love Me. Do you remember when you used to get CDs and it would always have the instrumental on the CD? So I
Absolutely.
had I had the instrumental and I wrote this terrible rap. And that was my first rap when I was about 13 years old. And just since then, I just kept writing raps.
Amazing. And so this is when you'd moved to Oxford. Were there any particular
Yeah, yeah.
influences that had really kind of got kind of pushing you forwards? Was it a group of friends? Was it a particular person?
No, no, not at all. I was completely isolated, as a mixed race boy in a predominantly white area. And remember, this is 97, 96. Hip hop and rap is not the like dominant global force it is now. It was very much niche. I remember making fun of me for listening to that kind of music at that time. So it wasn't any friends, it was just affinity I had for hip hop music. And luckily, I guess I had the internet, so I had internet forums. So I guess you could say the internet forums. I wouldn't consider them my friends, even though I got love for them. And if any of them hear this, because we're still in touch, some of them, like the internet forum guys, we're like, obviously, we're not friends. It's weird to say it like that. Like, we are friends, but like, not friends, like, especially back then when you're on the internet and you don't know anyone, you know what I
yeah.
mean? And, so we were just on forums. And actually, I was mostly just beefing with people on forums. Like, they were just calling me really bad. And I would just be wild on the forums, absolutely wild. And but I guess that sort of community is what kept me going, like kept me coming back, kept me making more music. And I actually remember one guy, JBC, shout out JBC, Julian. He doesn't actually live too far from me now, actually, as well. He lives in South London. And I remember one time, because like everyone was hating on me on this forum, and he was like, no, actually, like, I kind of like what you're doing. And he sent me some beats. And that's pretty much how my first album, like I say first album, but like, you're just recording on your computer and you're just handing the CDs out in secondary school, you know what I mean? Kind of vibe. So that was my first album. It was called Time Destroys All. And yeah, I guess you could attribute to JBC hitting me up. He sent me some beats, and when you get stuff like that, that gives you the encouragement you need to just keep doing it.
And so what were you getting beef for? Like what was it your style or what?
Yeah, I would know I was a terrible rapper. I was a terrible rapper. I wouldn't say I'm a naturally. Some people start rapping and they're so natural at it. I had to work a long time at it. I came from the school of like you mentioned earlier, like UK hip hop, right? UK hip hop in like 2000, early 2000 was very cerebral. It was very like punchline heavy, syllable heavy. It wasn't really about the flow. It wasn't really about the flows or the vibe. Do you know what I mean? It was like trying to be clever and witty.
So
And
like yeah, so that kind of, just so that we're on the same page here. So my kind of interpretation, and I may have been a couple of years late maybe, but my sort of, if I was to reference some of the UK hip hop that I loved and well still do, would be things like Jest, Task Force,
exactly, that's exactly
Brain Tax.
yeah.
So we're on the same page. That's kind of what we're, when we say UK hip hop, that like
100%, yeah. So you can see how I don't really fit into that. If you think about Task Force, Chester P and Pharma G and that kind of sound, even Jest, I love Jest is dope. High Plains Drifter, just like that EP is amazing. I actually have a song with Jest as well.
What?
Yeah, I have a song with Jest. It's called "It's the Manner."
No.
Yeah, I do. It's on one of my earlier albums called New Day. I'll put it in the chat as well afterwards. This is the link here, actually. UK hip hop is the link because that's how I know how. That's how I know how. Through UK hip hop, and obviously that's maybe how you guys know how as well. And
no, so we know how through. Well, Pete knows him, but I've actually never met him. But obviously it makes sense because he was based in Yorkshire, right? And I think wasn't Jess from Halifax or something, or was he? No, am I getting confused with someone else?
I think no, I don't really know his background like that. I think he is from somewhere up north, though. I think he references that quite a lot. But yeah. So yeah, no, bottom line is I wasn't a good rapper. I was arrogant. I was arrogant. I was very arrogant. I was a teenager. That's what teenagers do. We go online and we talk rubbish, and this is before we had online etiquette and safe spaces. And you remember how homophobic UK rap was, and how every stock battle lyric was some sort of homophobic slur, like, and you remember how we just diss each other. That was like the way that you spoke to people, back in the prehistoric years. So yeah, I was getting beef, and probably deservedly so, and it helped me get better, so I can't be mad. Everything they said was right. I was a terrible rapper. If you listen to the older stuff, too many words, and I was trying to be clever. I wasn't trying to make music, you know what I mean?
That's really interesting, but it's also, we obviously all give the internet a real, we pan the internet, but it was exactly the same for me. And probably around the same time, there was a lot of drum and bass forums that, it made you feel like you were a part of a community, even if it was a little bit kind of like maybe a bit mixed, but it's like, it still kind of makes you feel that you're involved in something, and kind of makes you feel like you're part of a scene.
100%. Yeah. Sounds like we've had very similar experiences.
Well, I think you've taken things a lot further than I ever did. But I mean, again, for me, I dabble with drum and bass producing, and we met from some friends, and I did some pretty cool things. We did some good performances, got some interesting opportunities. But kids came along, and I mean, I remember having my daughter when she was like 2 months old on my lap, and I was trying to make some beats, and just I was like, I can't do this, both of these things, man. And trying to do it with headphones on because you don't want to wake the kids up. I'm sure you know what I'm saying.
Exactly. That's what I was alluding to earlier. There's no music around the kids, man. You know what I mean? Like, there's no space for that, really. They got to be out the way if you want to lock in and make some music,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So, and at this point, so was medicine even on the radar at this point, or is this sort of just during school and like were you sort of very, very focused on music?
I was focused on music, to be honest. I was lucky. I was so lucky I got into medicine, I was just my dad just kind of made sure I studied. I knew my times table from an early age. And I did well at school, and I barely got into med school, so medicine was never really a focus. It was just like, oh, Pop says this is what I have to do. Okay, let me just do this exam. But everything was music, music, music. I was in the club 4 times a week, dancing, absorbing the music, meeting people, chatting to people, making friends. And yeah, so then luckily I got into medical school, and I continued with the music while at medical school,
So it sounds like you really kept, you really kind of managed to juggle both. Like, it sounds like you were, I mean, obviously getting into medical school is no easy achievement. So it sounds like you kind of kept an eye and kept a focus on both things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah, it sounds like it, but my memory, who knows, maybe I have a selective memory. My selective memory was music, and medicine was just like, I was lucky I could do well at the exams. I mean, I studied, don't get me wrong, I studied. But music was always, even while at med school, I said it like, there's a song that I put out recently called Clutch. I was going to get a job in a bank. 5th year med school, my grades started to tank. Be a doctor, nah, no way, man, I can't. The private school vibes, not my thing, not a fan. And all of my tutors could tell. And all of my tutors hoping I'd fail. I remember I was in 4th year, and one of the tutors, he was an orthopedic guy. And he comes up to me and he goes, I can tell you're not paying attention. I can tell this and that. I can tell this and that. And I thought you were going to fail this test, but somehow you've managed to pass this test. and I guess that's a testament to how, and I'm not saying this to big myself up. This is what happened. This is a testament to how bright you are. And I just hope you can like turn this around, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that kind of, I think that typifies my journey with medicine. Never really, my focus was never really on medicine. I have to be honest. And maybe that's why I've managed to get to where I have got to with music. Because I did have a relentless focus on music whilst still managing. Like I say, I barely got into medical school. I think I missed the grade that I needed to get into medical school by like 1. And back then it was unheard of. If you missed the grade, you didn't get in. And I remember when I got the grades, I called the uni, and then they were like, nah, don't worry, you can come.
Amazing.
Yeah. I was lucky, bro. And then, like I say, these skirmishes throughout med school, where it's like going to war with tutors and things like that. So, but I pulled through, and I'm grateful that I pulled through, and that's why I always have to say I'm lucky. I'm lucky I pulled through. You know what I mean? But that's my story, and from what I remember of it. Who knows? Maybe it looks different when you were at the time, but through my recollection now, if you ask me how did you do it, I'm like, well, this is what happened. Do you know what I mean?
And you referenced like I've had the pleasure actually and privilege of getting to know some Nigerian people recently, actually just through my kids' sports and a few other things, and one of the things which I would agree with from what you said is there's definitely a lot of drive and a lot of sort of commitment to sort of purpose and career in the people that I've met. And was there a sort of pushback from your dad in terms of, did he think the music was a distraction, or was there any sort of friction in that on that side?
100%. Again, your observations are accurate. My dad actively dissuaded me from music. He actively dissuades me to this day. He actively dissuades me. He actively dissuaded my brother from football. And, you know, my brother fought through it and he established himself, which was good. But no, yeah, he was just like study, study, study. Even now, he's upset like that I don't go deeper into. He thinks I'm just a GP. If you ever tell a GP you're just a GP, that hurts them to their soul. It doesn't hurt me to my soul because I know the reality of the job. But for him, I'm just a GP, and I could do more, you know. And it's what it is. It's fine. That's his approach, you know. He's gotten shall we say, he's eased up over the years, you know, so it's friendly and it's not an issue. And to be honest, without him driving me, maybe I would have had the music, the doctor thing, and it really is. I am really grateful for it. It really does put me in a unique position in terms of like making music in the way I want to make music, in a way that's rewarding for me. So, but yes, very driven, and yes, dissuaded me. I went on Britain's Got Talent earlier this year, and wow. I remember I called everyone. I called everyone to be like, should you do that? Should I do this? Should I do this? I mean, I'm sure you know from a UK hip hop perspective, like, why would a UK hip hop artist go on Britain's Got Talent? You know what I mean? So, but literally everyone I called was like, nah, you should do this. It's a pretty cool opportunity. Apart from my dad, who was like, no, you shouldn't do it. What if you can't be, you know, you can't work as a GP anymore because too many people want to come and be like, yo, there's that guy from Britain's Got Talent. Do you know what I mean? So
I remember watching that, Chima, as well, because I was watching it with my daughter, and I hadn't realised, I hadn't made the connection until I was looking for some of your tracks online, and it popped up that you'd been on Britain's Got Talent. I remember watching that. But what was that experience like?
That experience was amazing, actually. That experience was, so what happened was I didn't really go on as myself. So through my music career, there's different ways you can earn money with music, and a lot of that is like doing like cover band stuff, you know. So I'm in like a corporate cover band, I think it's okay to call it that, you know what I mean, called Soul Symphony. And the business model of the people that manage this band is these groups through these talent shows to get them profile and then, you know, big bookings or whatever. So they've been trying to do this for years. This is the same music management group that was responsible for Escala, and more recently Tokyo Myers. And like we were next up, Soul Symphony was next up. But basically what happened was, when they put us on the show, the producers were like, we don't really want to do it a Soul Symphony thing. We just want to do it as like a Dr. Rapper thing. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, it was crazy because all of us turned up. If you see the clip online, there's so many people on the stage, but they only really mention me. And it was like a bit, it was a bit crazy because I turned up expecting to promote Soul Symphony, but they're just asking me all these questions about me, and it kind of complicated the situation. But it also made me realize that actually, hold on, because before that, I never really felt that. I always felt that like I was a UK artist. There was only a certain level that I could do this to. But then when I went to Britain's Got Talent and they showed all this interest, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe people can be interested in what I'm doing at a higher level. And it's sort of reignited that sort of drive for me to, okay, what can I do with this music now that's more interesting than just like, you know, making underground music, and how can I reach out to people in a bigger way? So for me, it was great. And there's nothing like being on TV and then like 15 seconds after they've shown it, like your phone ringing and people you've not heard from for 15 years are like, yo, what is this? What did I just see, bro? Like, what is going on, bro? And I'm like, bro, I didn't think anyone watched this. How did you watch Britain's Got Talent, bro? I don't watch Britain's Got Talent. So that was a lot of fun. And even for my dad, because I told you my dad didn't want me to go on. My dad was buzzing because people were calling, my people were calling him going, yo, I saw Chima on Britain's Got Talent. That was amazing, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, so it was actually a really happy happy moment for me, you know, and I look back very fondly. I know talent shows are a contentious topic, but actually even just being there, seeing it from behind the scenes, they had psychologists, they had people like trying to look after people's welfare and things like that. I don't think it's as nasty as for example, X Factor used to be, or whatever. And it genuinely felt the day I went for my audition that because I met so many of the other acts as well, that people were just getting together just to share their talents. And it was just a joyful thing. So no, I have nothing but positive things to say about my experience there. And it was like a massive free advert for me. So I can't complain, you know.
And I think just on that point with the sort of contentious side is, I think when you're younger, you know, you tend to be a bit more of a music snob, and you kind of think there are all these rules about music, and you can't do this or you can't do that. You can't like this band because or this act because they, you know, they don't represent this and that and whatever. And as I've got older, like I just don't care anymore. I'm like, you know what? I like what I like. If it's a guilty pleasure, I don't care. And I don't know. I just think, you know, regardless of what people want to think, is let's say if you make it, or if you make progress through, let's say like an inverted comma, like not the right way, who gives a shit? Like I'm just over it. It's, you know, if you're good enough, you're good enough. Or if you get your chance to shine, then however it happens, it happens.
Agreed, because there is another way.
Exactly. We'll clip that. Definitely. Thanks for that. But did it open any doors for you, Chimo, having gone on there?
Oh, 100%, bruv. It's all about perception, this music situation. You know what I mean? The minute people see you on TV, because for me, right, it's old news. We filmed that in January. They showed it in April, and then it didn't go any further. And I'm just over it. But everyone's just like, everyone I see who maybe I don't see for a little while, they're like, oh, so you were on TV, you know, and then just like the conversation and the opportunities that you get. Yeah, without a doubt. It opened so much for me, like both internally and externally. So like I said, it's only been a positive thing for me. And actually, a lot of when I was doing my research in terms of like whether to do the show or not, because they invited us. It was like we applied to them. This is what they do. They go out, they find people that they think are interesting and invite them to be on the show. When I did my research, I found the same thing, the same story again and again and again. Like, you know, people in various stages of their careers, they go on Britain's Got Talent. You don't have to win it. You know what I mean? Just being on it was enough to like get enough eyeballs on what you're doing to then be like, oh, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Amazing. I've heard that before. I used to work with a guy that used to sing in a chorus. I think they'd been invited on a few times, but I don't think they'd actually been on. But yeah, it's interesting how it works. But there's no doubt it's a huge show, and I don't think you watch it too much, do? But I enjoy watching it with my daughter. It's quite good fun. But very good. And so I'm intrigued that you I don't know how you find the time, but I've noticed, well, I had your tracks on earlier today. I was in the car, and the one that you were talking about you started in a bank. I heard that one. That was a great track. But you've released 2 tracks this summer. So you not only are you working as a GP and you do music in your spare time and looking after the little guy as well, you're still kicking out singles. So how does that work? How long does it take you to record a single? I guess it varies depending on you know, which one you're working on, but how do you find time to get singles recorded and put them out?
Well, so now I record at home. I've got a little setup in my house, so that speeds things up a lot. The ideas just come to me, to be honest. It's just who I am. So like, and I've been fortunate enough that people reach out and they send me incredible instrumentals. So a lot of them like are instrumentals that other people have sent me. You know, with technology now, you know, the mixing process isn't as long, as laborious as it used to be. So there's time, you know, where there's a will, there's a way, you know what I'm saying? So I can't do it without the support of my incredible partner, obviously, Chantel. You know, when I'm like, look, I need to get this done. Can you take a Moby to his grandparents? Can you, you know, take him out so I can just focus on this? You know, we support each other, you know, that's why we're a great partnership. So, and then I have my grandparents around as well. So her side of the family, they look after Moby a lot. And then my mum particularly comes and looks after Moby a lot. And that gives me a lot of flexibility to do what I need to do. And then in terms of the doctor thing, I am in charge of my time on when I'm going to be a doctor. So I work when I want to work, and if I feel like I you know, I need some time off, I take some time off, you know.
Fantastic. And just with regards to your sort of musical process, the because obviously one of the things is you know, we've got quite a few people around us who are just starting their musical journey. I mean, my daughter included, she's 14, and she's learning the drums. But you know, from my side, I used to, you know, my kind of weapon of choice, if you want to call it that, is Logic. I think it's an incredible tool, and obviously I'm trying to sort of encourage kids and other people, and you know, hopefully one of our friends' kids is going to be going and doing an actual music production course as well. But you know, what's you know, what are you using Logic, or what? How does the process typically work for you?
Yeah, I use Ableton. So
Okay.
Ableton, it's like a cheat code, man. It makes the music for you.
But it's so funny you say that, because I just can't get my head around it. It doesn't, my brain doesn't seem to like it. Just like how it works in loops. I don't know. I hear so many people, especially in hip hop, really talk about Ableton positively. I just can't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe when you're used to one DAW, like it's like you're used to one way of doing something, so you don't really want to go back and learn a new way. But I don't know. For me, Ableton, because I only really started doing this because before I used to go to the studio. You know, someone else used to record me. You know, I only started doing that probably pandemic times. So yeah, when I picked up Ableton, you know, you can always tell a good program when they'll give you like a 3-month trial for free, because they know, yeah, once you start using this, you're not going to be able to stop. So I got the free trial Ableton, and there's so many videos on YouTube, whatever. Just taught myself. I'm not a pro by any means, but I also think that the way people have consumed music has changed now. You know, audio files aren't like they used to. You know, most music is probably listened to on like horrible headphones or like smartphone speakers and things like that. So I would never put myself up to the level of like, you know what I mean, top. But you know, once the budget's there, that's definitely the direction I want to go in. But at the moment, for the level I'm at, it's working. You know, it's getting me on like in like top editorial playlists on Spotify, which is like the kind of the equivalent of radio one, like was back in our days. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I use Ableton, and yeah, it does make things a lot easier, you know, than back in the day when making music was very, very labor intensive, which has its pros and its cons, obviously, but it is probably why I can put out this amount of music that I'm putting out. You know, turnaround times are much faster. You upload something to DistroKid, it can be on like the next week, you know, whereas before they had lead times of like 12 weeks. So yeah, we can be more efficient, you know.
Brilliant. And just looking at your back catalog, which would you say, which track are you most proud of, would you say?
That's easy. It's a track called After All This Time. It's a song about one of my friends who I already mentioned, my childhood friend Morella, who died. And then another one of my friends who was like one of my best friends at university, called Ade. He died in 2009. And that song is called After All This Time. And it's a song where I think I did it in 2014, talking about how I still think about them all the time. And I'm sort of telling them about what has happened in my life since they knew me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm doing this rap thing, you know. At the time I was like iTunes top 50 of the year album, you know what I mean? So all of that, and that song actually at the time was my biggest song in terms of like opening doors for me. It's the song that introduced me to SoulChef, and then I ended up doing, how many albums have I got with SoulChef? I got 2 albums with SoulChef, and like a couple of tracks on one of his albums. You know, so yeah, definitely after all this time, by Chima Anya and Clem Beats. He's not called Clem Beats anymore. He's called Super Dream. He doesn't make hip hop anymore. He makes like futuristic dance music, but he's dope as well.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your friends. That's really sad. But I haven't listened to that single, but I will definitely go and listen to that one. And you mentioned SoulChef there as well, and I think I mentioned to you at the top of the call before we started recording. I had Giants on today. That's a monster of a track. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, SoulChef is a monster of a producer. Yeah, so that whole album actually, Modern Fairytale, he did that whole album, and like the concept of that album is it's like I was taking fairy tale tropes, you know, motifs, and adapting them to, and from the lyrical side of things, you know, adapting them to modern life. So the giants, you know, like fee fi fo fum. Nowadays the giants are like, you know, Apple and, you know, I don't know, Sony or Coca-Cola. Do you know what I mean? Those are the giants and how they terrorize us. But yeah, the beat is a smashing. And SoulChef, he's a huge producer. He's from New Zealand, and definitely gets the numbers in. So it's like an honor and a privilege to work with him, you know.
And in terms of, you know, for obviously people who haven't heard your stuff and your, you know, and kind of, you know, it sounds like from an early age you took the craft pretty seriously, you know, even the way that you were discussing, sort of articulating your style. And listen, like I said before we started recording, my kind of 2 genres of music that I kind of go a bit deeper on is kind of sort of, you know, I do like some kind of guitar based music, like I'm quite into sort of like post punk and things like that, but also, like I mentioned, drum and bass. And that's sort of an art form that I kind of understand the nuances in. But if I'm honest with you, like with hip hop, as much as I, you know, love what I hear, and you know, but I've never really been, and I don't really understand the depth and the, especially sort of on the lyrical side. So, you know, could you give a bit of color on that in terms of, you know, how you're like, what would you say is your style, and how has that shifted?
Yeah, I think what you say is probably true of like most people, especially when it comes to hip hop. That's why when I realized I was going into all this detail about the lyrical side of things, and like people probably like, there's that famous video, you know, where they're in Argentina or something, and he calls up the radio and he goes, "Yo, play that song." Yo, it goes, "This is the Reebok or the Nike," and then he's like, "What song?" "This is Reebok or the Nike. You know that song? Come on." No, I don't know that song. And then he plays this song, and then he goes, "This is the rhythm of the night."
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Yes, that's the song, big tune." And it's like, but there's nothing wrong with that. People engage with music on different levels. And to be honest, I like what you said in terms of like coloring what it is, like the deep academic aspect of music, right? So we're talking about like multi-syllable punchlines, or like wordplay, or triple entendres, the things that would make you say, "Oh, this guy is a technically good rapper." All of that's pretty meaningless. It's not meaningless, let me not say that. But in the grand scheme of things, for me, I moved from, that's how I started. And you're right, I was too serious about it. I was trying to come with clever rhymes, or like lots of rhymes, rhyme a million words. Do you know what I mean? You know, internal rhymes, multi-syllabic rhymes. I'm trying to move from that. I want to be the Reebok and the Night guy. You know what I mean? Even though this is the rhythm of the night, that's actually quite a cool line as well. And I'm sure whoever wrote that is probably quite happy with that line. It's quite poetic. I do try and still retain elements of like poetry and something that's not quite obvious. So for people who want to scratch a little bit deeper into the layers, there's something there. But at the same time, it's not that deep. There are far denser lyricists than me. Do you know what I mean? So if you're the type of person that likes that super, super dense lyricism, then I have to be honest and say, man, like, this is not what it's going to be about. That I'm trying to hit the Reebok or the Nike, like, international people. Just, there's a vibe there. You lock onto it, and it takes you to a different dimension. So that's why, like, my songs have probably gotten more simple over the years, but like I feel like more powerful, and more poetic. So yeah, I started off as almost like a battle rapper, you know, like.
Well, it's funny you say that, actually, because I like one of my favorite tracks, which is a bit cliche, but is Vicious Battle Raps by, with DJ Format and Abdominal.
Yeah.
And obviously a big part of that is the breath work and, like, just the flow of it. But the thing that it does sort of negatively represent is, like, there's almost an element of it, of that sort of technical showing off kind of piece. And, like, I didn't go to tons of hip hop events sort of, around sort of the early 2000s, but I went to a few. And it's sort of kind of, there's a bit of a negative vibe about like quite a critical kind of, and I guess it's a good thing, right? Which is it's because people care about it, they're passionate about it, and almost like you said, you had beef online, but that really resonates with me, that you're kind of moving away from that, because I don't really get it. I don't, like, people have got different styles. Why don't we embrace it rather than trying to, like, pan everyone all the time?
I agree 100%, and that's why I've moved in the direction. But the thing is, I've seen this. It's not just in hip hop music. Like, so I mean, I love full stop, not just hip hop music. So, and I do a lot of work in the live music arena, and I see it with, like, jazz musicians. Self-indulgent jazz musicians. Going on these avant-garde, solos, like, super technical. You don't understand this shit. Like, yeah, okay, I don't understand it. It didn't move me. And I feel like the key is moving people, like, emotionally in some way. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't require for you to have a PhD in the rules in whatever they're constructing to understand and get it. That's why, like, the best music is just, like, best, quote unquote best. There is no best. Everyone likes different things, fine, whatever. But the most universally loved, shall we say, music is the stuff that it transcends language, it transcends cultures, it transcends time. Do you know what I mean? You could be in a different time and you listen to that and it will stop you in your tracks. You know what I mean? I don't know what year Mozart made his shit, but we still bang it now and it's still amazing. You know what I mean? But when you put all these, like, little rules into it that you have to dance around, that makes it of its time. And it can live in that time and it can be very impressive, but that's all it can do. And that's cool if that's what you like. And I'm not knocking it. We started this by describing my style, where it's like, I started trying to do that. And I was like, actually, this is not actually, like, this is not what I'm into. You know what I mean? I'm into just great general music. So let me move more to that, but still retain some of the skills that I had in, when I was doing the super technical, biddy rap stuff, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I don't know if that adds enough color to it. I'd say very musical, my style. I do like, I want to, like, the song has to be great first. I think the beats are all interesting. And then generally there's a message in there somewhere. I'm trying to get better at not making the message so banging you over your head with the message all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to be a little bit hidden, a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that's how my style has evolved over the years.
And is there a vibe with the message that you generally feel you gravitate towards? Like, is there sort of a kind of a purpose to the message, or is there like yeah, like is there something that you find that you consistently kind of wanna get out there?
Yeah, I do actually. And it's cheesy. It's cheesy, but like if you look at them, like, you know, my very first song that I put out, like I'd say properly, was a song called "I Want to Be Myself," which again ties in sort of to there is another way in terms of like being yourself. And then, you know, over the years, it's all stuff like helpful nuggets. That's how it sort of ties in with the doctor side of things. So a big song for me was a song called "Do Less," which I put out in like 2017. And that was all about like I would see people coming in mad stressed, and I was just like, and they think the answer is like some sort of drug, as opposed to like looking at their life and figuring out where they can just do less. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people working in the city, 100-hour weeks. Like, do you really need to do that? You know what I mean? So like messages like that. So like, do less, or people forget. That was like, you know, don't be too um don't be too worried about how people see you now, because people forget. You know what I mean? That it's all these little life lessons that I've learned that I kind of want to be quite helpful, or just celebrating life. So sun is shining, just being grateful for stuff, you
The
know.
Sun is Shining. That's the first track I listened to of your stuff when Hal sent it over. I connected with that track straight away. It's just, in fact, I had it on this morning. I was driving around and it was cloudy, it was grey, and it just lifted me. Honestly, I think that's such a positive, happy track. I love it. It reminds me of something from years ago that I can't quite put my finger on, but I instantly resonated with that one. So what
Uh,
was what drove you to write that track?
well, just that. So Neva Side sent me that beat, and the chorus on it is that guy screaming and the sun is shining. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely solar powered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I can on that. I'm on that straight away. The sun is shining, and on reflection, you know, because that's like my most listened to song right now on Spotify. And it's like something that, you know, it's like a universal human experience. You know what I mean? Like a lot of us, I know some of us don't like the sun. I referenced that in the song as well. But most of us, we love it when the sun comes out. So I guess that feeds into why it's performed quite well. But yeah, no, it was just, you know, Neva Side sent me that song. I am solar powered, and it just made sense to write on that topic. But again, I tend to want to say positive things. I tend to want to share happiness. When I think of like the artists that, like, you know, I really love, it's like it's just kind of sharing happiness. You know, I want to share happiness, and I know it's cheesy and whatever, yeah, whatever, man. It's what I'm doing, you know what I mean? And it's what I'm gonna continue to do. I want to keep it real. I want to be honest. I feel like I see a lot of dishonesty, you know, in terms of the way we portray ourselves, in terms of like fakeness on social media, and I want to be an alternative to that, you know. So that's why sometimes the music will be like downbeat, but still in a positive way, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, and to be honest, it's a breath of fresh air. We talk about this a lot on the podcast. There's a lot of negativity and polarization on social media. You mentioned social media right there, but people seem to jump on top of it. Negative news stories seem to get more clicks, and in a world where there does seem to be a lot of doom and gloom, I honestly think it's a breath of fresh air. And of course, we can't be like that every day, but if you can listen, stick a tune on when you're in the car or whatever that lifts you, then I'm all for that.
For sure, man. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touch on quite a couple of points there, which I think even as we go through this journey on the podcast, you know, it's like authenticity, which I think is really what you're kind of getting at, but also like just there does need to be more positivity. I mean, I'm often the one who, I mean, you talk about politics earlier. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's been a shit show for quite some time, and you know, it's the world is becoming a difficult place to be. And again, with social media, you know, we're all hearing the stats coming out about, you know, how much that's massively impacting mental health. It's increasing anxiety. You know, we see the status games that people are playing all the time, and you know, sometimes is it not just enough to like talk about the sun shining and, you know, keeping it positive and keeping it authentic?
There you go. There you go, bro. That's exactly how I feel, man. And that's what I'm doing. So
But you
I'm
must,
happy.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but you raise a really interesting point there. I guess being a GP, I mean, you must see all kinds of different scenarios.
Oh, I do. And that's why sometimes the songs are a bit like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, what's going on here? Because that's real life. Real life is not always happy, rosy, dandy, Will Smith. One time, one time. No, I'll tell you a story. Right, one time, because I worry. Just once said to me, he said to me, this is in the early years. He was like, "Yo, Chima, I really see, uh, you got potential. You know, you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but I think you could be like a UK Will Smith."
Sorry, who said this?
Just,
Jest.
yeah, just said that to me.
Wow.
And I was like,
I mean, I don't know how you like interpret that, but I mean, I think even Jess just sort of, I mean, maybe I'm putting him too much on a pedestal here, but you know, even getting that feedback sounds pretty good to me.
no, it's good. It is a massive, you know, because I don't want to be like you because you saw what happened with Will Smith and the slap, right? The slap that reverberated around the world. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be that fake, like, you know what I mean? You know, like always trying to be positive kind of thing. It's just like so I have an album called The Doctor's Note, and on it I have a song that's called Everybody Dies, and which is obviously true. But like that was the purpose of that song, was like, okay, everybody dies, so we've got to do our best kind of thing. You know what I mean? Not like, oh shit, everyone dies. So
Sorry, and again, I keep cutting you off, but it's just because you keep saying such like resonating things. But P and I often we say, you know, and we've said it on this podcast before, is everybody dies, and that's a good thing.
Well, there you go, bro. Isn't it amazing the way life works, that we're having this conversation now, that we've somehow found each other? That's so crazy. That is so crazy. And then another one of my second, another one of my notable songs, shall I say, is called Coincidental. And it's all about all of these little things that happen in life where it's like, what, how's this happened? Why do I always see the same guy walking down the street and I bump into him in a GP practice, and then I see him and we're playing football together? Like, how has that happened? Like, you know, so it's amazing, man. Life is amazing and worth reflecting upon, which is kind of what I'm trying to do, and clearly what you guys are doing as well, which is why we're now doing it together.
Here, I totally agree with that, and yeah, like, it is reflecting on, but also making the most of, because you know, as we know, you know, we all go one day, but some people are going more quickly than others, and you know, it makes you realize that actually how fragile it is, and we really just need to crack on and make the most of it.
100%, man.
Well, it's funny because, you know, with the psychosis thing, which, you know, I mean, I'm pleased to say it's kind of gone in a decent direction, still working some things out, but people don't believe it when they ask me, you know, how you doing, and you know, all of this stuff. And it's weird how having an experience like this, and obviously a lot of people have to deal with a lot worse, but it's amazing how, if you choose to, you can see the positives in that message, which is, all right, this isn't ideal. You know, it's probably going to have a pretty serious impact in some way, but it is that reminder of, you know, like, all right, so what are we going to do? What are we here to do with the time that we've got? And it's ended up being, it's been tough, but it's like it's you know, it's been a real positive, because it's been a real reminder of what we were here to do.
I'm glad to hear it's going in the right direction, and I couldn't agree more, man. I really couldn't agree more with everything you've just said. And actually, that's a well-known fact. You know, they taught us that in med school. They were like, we often think that when people get put in these difficult situations that they're really down, but actually sometimes they just come out, and a lot of the times they come out and they're a lot stronger. They call it we've all heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, but like there's also something called post-traumatic growth as well. But obviously they can't monetize that, you know what I mean? They can't make money off of that. So there's not a whole industry pushing that, you know what I mean? But it definitely exists, and it's a perspective that I'm very, enamored to hear. Like, that's real, man. Because like you say, we just one life and we just got to do it. And it's cheesy, whatever. We make the most of it. So what? We like life. We're grateful for life. There's no problem here. You know what I mean?
I'm all about cheesy these days, and it also sounds like we could have a pretty interesting conversation about the pharmaceutical industry and the way the process works, but probably for a different podcast. But I interrupted you when Jess said that about the UK Will Smith. So how did you take that, and how did you sort of manifest it?
Well, you know what? Because this was a long time ago. I did take it because he knew I would take it like what? Because Will Smith is not taken seriously as a rapper, and I took myself very seriously as a rapper. You say that though, but he's like, there was a period of Will Smith before we know Will Smith. I'm guessing we're around the same age. In the 80s, like, when it was like he's the first rapper to get a Grammy or whatever. You see him do some of the songs from that era before the the Big Willie style, before the Getting Jiggy with It, before the Boom Shake the Room, before that, you know what I mean? Where it looks like actually he was at that time a rapper, do you know what I mean? Before he became this, amazing movie star. But no, yeah, I actually took it quite well, because obviously I was like, nah, brother ain't Will Smith. But I was like, at the end of the day, it was like he was speaking more to I think anyway, maybe he was talking about me being like a bit of a novelty, but he was speaking more to like the universal appeal, you know what I mean, that it could have. And I was like, that's not a bad thing, you know what I mean? So I'll take that. But on the same hand, like I said, because we were talking about getting the message right, what is the message? There's always a message in the song, or a reason for the song. I'm going to challenge myself actually in the future to try and make songs with no message, that are just a vibe, and see if I can do that. You know what I mean? But
it's interesting you say that, actually, because that in many ways is what I love about drum and bass. Is a lot of people listen to drum and bass and they don't get it because there's no lyrics. Typically, obviously, there's emceeing it on live events, and there is a real movement, but there is a real movement towards sort of MC featured like tunes now. But it's interesting because I think one of the things I love about it is it's just pure vibe. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to like overanalyze it. Like when I work, I listen to drum and bass in the background. But it's really interesting because I've never really thought about that, which is actually in the hip hop world, I guess that can be a challenge because again, people analyze lyrics so much. And sometimes it's about the overall tune, like, so yeah, I can see how that would be a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something I want to challenge myself to. I've got the perfect beat for it as well. But it will probably end up being some complicated metaphor for something, whatever. I'll try. Yeah, no, I just brought that up, the Will Smith thing, because it was funny, because I had randomly said the word Will Smith, and then I remembered that you guys knew of Jess, so I was like, oh yeah, Jess once said I was like Will Smith, and it was just a funny story. That was it.
Brilliant. That's a great story. And so what's next for you then, Chima? What's, you still putting out music and enjoying it and working hard. What if you could map out your next few years, how would that look? Obviously spending time with your family as well.
Yeah. The main thing I wanted to focus on in the next few years is I want to have another body of work, like a notable body of work, shall we say. My last album, Modern Fairytale, managed to hit 1 million streams, which I'm super like excited about.
Wow.
And I want to have like another body of work that does even better than that. And so like I'm going to take a lot of time to like I just mentioned this, like for example, this song that I've I'm working on at the moment. Like I've got the flow. I don't have the lyrics, but the lyrics probably aren't that important because I want to try to move more into that. Okay, try and make a song that's just a vibe. It doesn't have to be some super lyrical thing. So I want to like I'm working on basically another album, another project in its totality, but I want to put it out properly. Like so that's probably going to take some time. It probably won't be next year. Looking at the trajectory of things, it will probably, hopefully, be the year after. So I'm sort of kind of going into hibernation mode to create, hopefully, a body of work that is truly notable. So that's what I see for me, like currently. So actually, I'm gonna probably like ease off the the content. What do they call it? Content marketing or whatever it's called. And just focus more on being creative for a year or two, like they used to do back in the day. You know what I mean? And see what I come up with.
Well, it sounds good. I can't wait to hear what that does sound like. So we should look out for that in 2026, yeah?
Wow, when you say it like that, I thought you were gonna say 2023, and I was like, wow, 2026. Yeah, 2026. Wow, that's futuristic, bro. But I still have a lot to learn as well. I'm learning loads of like new things. Like I'm doing the beats myself now, like we said, like Ableton and mixing and stuff like that. And I just want to make it really interesting, you know. I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't want to just keep doing the same old, like make a beat, make a rap, put it out, do a video, see how many listens it gets, repeat, you know what I mean? Let's do something interesting. So I am gonna be like just taking time on the art for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting point as well, because we talk about this on the podcast a lot. I think some people have a growth mindset and some people don't. And it sounds very much to me like you're one of those guys that does have a growth mindset. You know, you're churning out amazing tracks, but you still want to, learn more and maybe take on a slightly different role. But I think that's a great attitude to have.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, amazing.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, look, I think I feel like there's so many different areas that we could go deep on, and but I think, I mean, I feel like this has been such a great conversation, and I think for me, in terms of just getting a vibe and a sense of who you are and sort of how you're approaching life, I just think maybe this is a good place to wrap up, but just feel really grateful for this conversation, and I think from listening to some of your tracks, from like, for me it's got a really lovely blend of like proper good hip hop, but I kind of know what jest means, like. And I hope you don't mind me saying that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I love it. I'm embracing it, bro. If I could be Will Smith now, bro, I'm mad. I'd love to be in Will Smith's position, minus the slap.
Leave the slap out of it.
It's got a real good vibe that takes me back to the UK hip hop days, but it's got a real kind of uplifting, and obviously I need to listen to more of your stuff, but. Yeah, I mean, I think from my side, it's just been such a great conversation to see how you're balancing, obviously having a family, a career, two careers effectively, the mindset and the way that you're really embracing the idea of there's another way, and the authenticity that I think we're really trying to encourage. So, from my side, it's been a real privilege to have this conversation.
You're too kind, and same on this side. Thank you for inviting me on like this space where you're talking about interesting things that I believe in, and things that I want to share with people as well. And it's been an honor and a pleasure for me as well. Thank you so much.
Well, it has for us, and I echo everything Ad said as well. And it's been a real pleasure to meet you, and honor to have you on. Hear your stories, and two very distinct careers that it's just such a fascinating combination. And kudos to all you're doing in the medical world, because you're helping so many people and under tricky circumstances. But then in your downtime, obviously aside from looking after your lovely family, is putting out these tracks as well, which is clearly a massive passion of yours. And just grateful to get a little insight into your journey. So thanks very much for that, Chima. And just before I close, or we close, we always end our podcast on the same question. So we'll ask you that if that's okay as well. And
Sure.
been on some journey, haven't you, from Romania to Scotland to down into Oxford, and where you discovered your love of music and working so hard and diligently in medicine, and coming out the other side of that and into your career in music as well. And let's not forget Britain's Got Talent and being compared to Will Smith. So we've had some amazing stories. But if you could go back to young Chima, as you landed in Oxford, just about embark on your journey of consciousness, like you said earlier on, and you could give yourself one piece of advice based on that journey you've been on, Chima, what do you think that might be?
There would be so much. It would be, but if it was just one piece of advice, I'd say, work. No, don't be so scared. Just give it a go. That's the one thing I'd say. I think so many times I was in positions where I could have pushed a little bit harder, done a little bit more. But I didn't. I played it safe. And I think that's it. Don't be so scared. It sort of links to that album, which was a turning point for me, which is the people forget. You know what I mean? Like, you're always afraid of, especially as a young person, you're afraid of looking like a fool in front of everyone. Where I love that saying, in your 20s, you think everyone's thinking about you. In your 30s, you don't care what anyone thinks anymore. And then in your 60s, you realize no one was thinking about you at all. No, because everyone had their own stuff to deal with. So yeah, just be you, like authentically you.
Beautiful. What a great message.
Absolutely. And I think it touches on what we were saying earlier, where it's so easy to get in your head when you go on these forums or you're getting this feedback. And especially with music, I see so many people who look at perfection, which causes procrastination. And for me, it's kind of progress over procrastination. And if more people just didn't overthink it, they weren't in their own head, they were braver, they weren't afraid of being an imposter, who knows how that could impact their lives better.
100%. You articulated it far better than I did.
So listen, no pressure at all, and we didn't ask this in advance, but is there any way we can get a few bars off you, or is that asking too much?
Bars. What kind of bars do you want?
Anything, just anything that you want to sign off. I don't know, some new chats that you're working on, or I don't know.
Like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you some of. I got a song coming out Friday talking about prolific release schedule, right? And this song is called Love Will Come to You, right? It's produced by Neva's Side, and it's dropping on this Friday. I don't know when this is coming out. So it goes like this. I keep my head down and my heart rate up till I hold the crown far, far way up. All the love I found, bro, I can't say much. So crazy, so crazy. I used to force it in my early years. That approach was a sure route to heavy tears. So many times stop, please end it here. At least once a week, twice a month, every year. Looking for a pass when there's no one running. Got to go back when those in the front are fronting. On the pitch at the job, it's the same thing. It's the doctor with a different type of patience. Look, I should call this soon 3, because technically I'm talking about what will soon be. In every aspect of this earth. Sat in traffic while you're waiting for a passage to emerge. Look, love will come, bro. Ain't no challenge that you cannot overcome, bro. If you're dripping in Gucci or rocking bro. Keep it going, keep it moving, keep it fun, bro. Look. Yeah, I don't know that one that well yet.
Absolutely incredible.
That was no setup there at all. We just asked you that off the cuff and you just done that.
Absolutely brilliant. And actually, it's really nice to hear your voice after we've been talking and then hear you kind of flow. It's really, that was awesome, man.
Oh no, too kind, man, too kind. Just messing about, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to drop a little rap. You know,
amazing. Well, we absolutely loved it, and we'll look out for that dropping on Friday, Chima. So we'll look out for that and hear the single. So looking forward to hearing that. I'd love to include a few snippets of your tracks before we push the podcast out. But I don't know whether the copyright will get picked up or not. But we'll see. But yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I have a surprisingly lack of control over that. Sometimes I can't even post my own songs on TikTok. It will be like copyright. I'm like, yeah, I have the copyright. But
really?
It's so strange. It's so bizarre. Like, by all means, from my point of view, more than happy for you to play like a track or whatever. And I just don't know how to sign off on it, you know what I mean, officially, and what the issue is. I don't think there should be an issue on Spotify. I guess it would just count as another stream for the song on Spotify. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. We'll check it out and see, but if not, but anyway, you must definitely go and check out Chima Anya on Spotify and all the usual social channels. I would imagine Chima as well, and go and listen to some of your tracks, because there's some absolute crackers on there.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
What an amazing conversation, Chima. So great to me. Really, really appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
You too. Take care, Chima. Thanks for your time, and thanks for the chat. We really appreciate it. And maybe we'll come and see you next time. And we'll have another conversation.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
Take care.
Take care.
Let's never ever go to sleep again. Wait, I think I'm starting to fade again. I don't want the end.